Hi and welcome guys to the Underwater Filmmaking School's live underwater cinematography talk of the month of June here live from Zurich. Now, if I look a little tired, please excuse that look because it is actually really early in the morning here for us. It is 3 o'clock Zurich time, and that's probably why I do look a little tired. So please excuse that if that's the case. But the reason why we are actually doing a live stream at this very unusual time for us today is because we want to give our friends and our supporters from the US, we want to give them a chance to actually be part of these live streams and follow them live as well, because the last couple of live streams that we did them at a time that was probably not the best for our US, the people from the US watching our channel. So, if you're new here, my name is Matthias. I'm an underwater cinematographer and filmmaker based here in Zurich, Switzerland. And here on this channel, we talk about anything to do with underwater filmmaking with one goal in mind. We want to make you a better underwater filmmaker. So, obviously, I'm not doing this all by myself. I have got a helper with me again today, my buddy and supporter behind the scenes, Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian. How are you doing tonight?
Good, thanks. Good. Looking forward.
Excellent. Yeah, me too. Good to have you here again with us tonight. Sebastian, for those of you who have been watching the channel for a little bit already, you guys know that Sebastian is the one behind the camera most of the time, and he's the one taking care of all the technical stuff, making sure that everything runs smoothly and that we don't run into any hiccups. So if we do run into any hiccups, you know, it's this way, you know who's the one to blame. It's Sebastian. It's the other way, okay? You know, well, in any case, it's Sebastian is the one to blame. If we do run up into any hiccups tonight, any technical hiccups, if it's anything to do with the content from tonight's live stream, then you can happily blame me. Thank you, Sebastian. We'll get back to you later on in the live stream tonight. Right, so I've got a couple of things that I want to talk about first before we get into the main topic or the agenda and then the main topic of today's live stream. First of all, let's have a look who's here tonight. We've got Code Monkey with us, we've got Captain Eelgrass. Hello guys, nice to see you back here in our live streams. If you're here for the first time, or even if you've been here before, feel free to let us know where you're from. I would really like to know where you guys are watching from tonight, and also please drop a line and let us know how you got to know about this live stream that's happening tonight. I would really be interested in learning that so that we know which of our communication channels work for the live streams in our channel and which might not work as well. Cool. So, let's have a quick look at the chat. All right, so we've got 9 people in the chat already. First time. Right, Cold Monkey writes he's here for the first time from Port St. Lucie in Florida. Excellent, thank you for tuning in. Cold Monkey, good to have you here. John Halley's here again. Hello John, good to see you back here. It means a lot to me that I see people actually coming back to these live streams because at least I think that that's the reason, or that's it. The reason they are coming back is because they're getting something out of these live streams. So thanks John for being a very active supporter of the channel and being a regular visitor of these live streams here. Cool. We've got Ian Prater from Orange County in California. Excellent, big fan. Cool, thank you very much, Ian. I appreciate your comment and your kind words. Hopefully we can continue on that road and give you some good content and some good information in the live stream tonight. Right, so as you've already seen, there is the chat function, and you're more than welcome to use this chat function as actively as you like. You can talk to each other, but you can obviously also ask questions to either Sebastian or myself during the live stream. Feel free to do that. If you do want to make sure that we see your question, well, most likely we will see it because there probably won't be too many comments in there, but if it gets a little out of hand and there's too many comments, too many questions, and you want to make sure that we do pick up your question, you can always use the super chat function. With a little donation, your comment will be marked and we'll make definitely sure to pick it up and answer your question there. It's also a good option to support the channel by using the super chat function. We appreciate that a lot, and every single dollar that comes in through that way, or through any ways really, from this channel will go right back into making content for this channel and for you guys. And as I said, we do appreciate every little bit of help that we can get. Thank you very much. Cool. All right. I think we are ready to have a quick look at what is going to happen tonight. And I'll ask Sebastian to bring up the agenda that will keep us busy for the next hour or so. Here it comes. We've got 4 points that we'll cover tonight. First of all, I want to say thank you for 5,000 subscribers on the channel here. That mark, we hit that about a week and something ago, and I'm very, very proud and grateful to you guys that we've actually hit that mark. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the giveaway that I've prepared for you as a little thank you and a little, well, sort of something that I want to give back to the community. Then the second point is going to be, or the second section is going to be some gear that we'll look at. There's going to be a lot of, or we have actually received a lot of new gear from our supporters, and we'll be busy in the next couple of weeks testing all that gear, making review videos, and letting you guys know which of that gear we actually like and which we think is not really usable if you're serious about filming underwater. The next one that we're going to look at, the sort of third chapter tonight, is going to be the main topic, which is how to choose a camera for a specific job and what you need to look out for, the determining factors for choosing a camera for a specific job or even just for your specific needs. Last but not least, we'll round up tonight's live stream with a Q&A session, as we always do. So that's the time for you to ask all your questions regarding anything that we talked about today, but also about anything else that is connected to underwater filmmaking. Right. So let's not lose any more time and get straight into the first topic, unless there is. Well, let's have a quick look at the chat before we do actually get into the first one. We've got a few more comments in there. So we've got S. Goldstein from the Bay Area in California. Excellent. Yeah. That is a good series with James. That's definitely something that is gonna keep on going, and I'm glad that you're learning valuable stuff from that series. And we've got John Boris also here. Oh, he was the code monkey before. Okay, he switched accounts. Excellent. Well, we still count you as 2 people watching tonight, John. I hope that's okay. All right, so let's move on and get into the first topic, and let's talk about the 5,000 subscriber mark. As I said before, I'm very grateful to every single one of you. I think, no, I don't think, I know that I'm really enjoying this journey that we're on together. And I've also wanted to kind of show my appreciation and give it back in a certain way. Some of you, those who have been watching the channel for some time, you know that I've been working on a online underwater videography course, or actually 2 courses. There's going to be a beginner's course, and there's also going to be a sort of an advanced course that's building up on the beginner's course. Now, these 2 courses, they've been in the making for a couple of months now already, and I'm planning on releasing and launching these courses in at the end of August this year, so in about 2 months time. Now, I've decided that I wanna make a giveaway or give a giveaway and give you guys a chance to win one of these courses. I'm gonna give away one of these online underwater videography courses worth $198. And the way how you can actually take part in that competition for that online underwater videography course is by either clicking the link that is going to be down in the video description later on, or you can just head over to my website, which is matthiaslebo.com, and on that website you can click onto the download section, and in there, as soon as it loads, in there you will see, if you scroll down a little bit, a section where it says enter your email for a chance to win our new online underwater videography course. The only thing you really have to enter is your email, but I'd appreciate if you enter your first and last name there as well, and just click join the competition. And at the end of July, with everyone who has registered until then, we will draw a winner from all these people, and that one is going to be the lucky winner of a online underwater videography course of choice. You can either choose the beginners or the advanced course, whichever suits your needs best. Right, so much to the subscriber mark and the giveaway that we're going to do here on the channel. Moving on to the second chapter of tonight, and moving on to the equipment that we've got. I'm just going to put my laptop aside a little bit because we've got all the equipment laid out on the table here in front of me. I'm hoping that Sebastian is going to give me that view, that top-down view. There we go. I'm just going to adjust the microphone a little bit so you guys can still hear me while I'm bend over the table a little bit more. So this is all the gear, actually just a part of the gear that we've received from all our supporters, and that we're going to be testing in the next couple of weeks. There's a lot more that's just underneath the table because there wasn't enough space on the table for all that gear. Now we've teamed up with Backscatter, and they've sent us a very interesting package with a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be testing. First and foremost, it's going to be the GoPro Hero 9. Those of you who have been watching the channel, you know that I've been using the Osmo Action, the DJI Osmo Action, as my primary underwater action camera for quite a while, and I'm quite happy with it. But I've got the chance now to test the GoPro Hero 9, and I jumped at that chance. I'm really looking forward to testing that camera, seeing what I can do with it, and how it behaves in the water, and what kind of shots I can really get with it. We've also got a tray from the guys at Backscatter, and we've also got close-up lenses, flip filters, really the works. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of testing and quite a few dives to see how we can, what kind of footage we can get out of this tiny little camera, and if it really is as good as everyone says. Maybe I'll even replace my Osmo Action with the GoPro Hero 9. Who knows? Another thing that we've got from the guys at Backscatter, and that's actually the one thing that I was most excited about when I opened up the package, is this one here. Now this here is their brand new underwater video light, the Macro Wide 4300. It's, as the name says, a underwater video light that is meant to be good enough for macro as well as for wide angle photo and videography. And it has an output of 4300 lumen. As you can see, it is fairly small, which is great. It's very travel friendly. I really like that. And I haven't had it in the water yet. I literally received this package today, so I haven't had a chance to really have a proper look at it. But from my first impression, I think that it's going to be something really, really cool, and especially with something like a setup here with the GoPro on a tray like this, having two of these underwater video lights on it. I think that could be a really, really nice combination. So I'll definitely make sure to let you guys know how it went once we've got it in the water, and produce a review, or probably more than one review video for you about the whole setup and the individual parts of this. But I'm really excited about this part here. We've also got a snoot module. This part here is meant to go on top or on top in front of the whole underwater video light, and is meant to act as a snoot. So it bundles the light to a more compact light, and you can be a lot more creative with your light that way than what you would be otherwise without having that snoot on there. I have already used snoots to shoot underwater video, macro videos, and I think they're a great tool to help you be more creative with your underwater shots. If you want to check those videos out, I've done reviews about other underwater snoots. Feel free to check them out on the channel. They will be linked down in the video description later on as well. Cool. What else? Another thing that I personally find very interesting is this thing over here, and this is actually something very cool. It is a phone case or an underwater housing for your cell phone. Now, this is not something new. There's been underwater housings for your cell phones out there for quite a while. I've tested some here on the channel as well in the past. And one thing that always bothered me with the housings for your phones was that you always had to download an app onto your phone, and then you would connect your phone via Bluetooth normally to that app, and you would use the camera functions of your phone through that app, which works, but it also means that in most cases you cannot really use the phone's full potential or the camera's full potential of your phone. And therefore it didn't really make much sense for me if I have a cell phone that can take really good video or photos underwater, or generally can take really good photos and video. But if I cannot access the capabilities of the phone's camera, then there's just no point for me in taking it underwater and using it as my camera for filming and taking photos underwater. But with this case, it's slightly different. Let me show you. Let me first grab my phone. I just gotta unlock it. No, it's actually not my phone, it's Sebastian's phone. That's why it's gonna take a little moment for me to unlock it. But once I've done, here we go. So the phone's unlocked, and now what's the really interesting thing about this underwater housing is that it has a side where the screen of the phone is going to be, and you can, through that, it's like a silicone, or I don't know if it's silicone, but it's like a touchy side here, and you can actually use the screen. Let me see if you can see it here. It's probably better. You can actually use your fingers and the touch screen function, or touch function of your screen, of your cell phone, and, for example, open your camera, right? You can go through different apps. You can close that one. This just worked before when we tried. Here we go. Sometimes you just have to try once or twice, but it definitely does work, and you can really go through your phone that way, which is absolutely amazing most of the time. Here we go. Well, that's just when we're live on air. It's normally a little different. So going back into the camera function, it also means that when we go to the video function now, we can use our wide angle lens. We can also use our macro lens, and we can use the regular lens, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's something that I personally have not seen in any other camera, in any other housing for a cell phone before, and I'm really looking forward to testing it out and seeing how well this really works. As I said, this is also a thing that I've just gotten a few days ago. I haven't had a chance to take it into the water yet, but as soon as I will have a chance, you'll be the first ones to know how it went and whether or not this is a product that I can recommend. It's actually made by a company called, I don't know if you can see it here, the company is called Dive Folk, and the housing, you can see it here on the back, the housing is called C-Touch Pro, and I think it's the third version, so it's C-Touch Pro 3. The third version of the housing. Very interesting concept, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to testing that out a little more in detail and seeing what this can actually do. Other things what else have we got here? We've got a few more things on the table. One of them is this little guy here. You guys know, I'm going to show it here. You guys know what this is, or some of you might know what it is. It's a paralens camera. It's one of the first paralens cameras, and I've just been in touch with the paralens guys. I've been trying to get in touch with them for quite some time, and it hasn't really worked out for me there, but now they've contacted me and they're willing to send me a Vaquita so that I can start testing out the Vaquita, their newest model of the paralens dive cameras, and see whether I like it better than the last one, whether they've made any improvements to it, all that sort of stuff. So that's something that should happen in the next couple of weeks as well. And then last but not least, this is probably least interesting to you guys, but it's still something that I like to do, is review some underwater torches, underwater flashlights. Now this is not underwater video lights, but they're actually flashlights. But I think that it's always a good idea to have a spare light with you underwater when you're an underwater cinematographer and you're down there filming. You never know if one of your main lights or both of them may fail, and you do want to have some contingency, so you have a spare light with you. And I like having a small and compact light, so these ones were sent to me by the companies, by Xstar and by Orca Torch, to test and see how much I like them. Right, so let's just adjust the microphone here a little bit. Hopefully that will help with the audio. I'll grab my laptop back and we'll have a quick look at the chat and see if there is any questions in the chat. Obviously Sebastian is up to the task and fading in the like and subscribe button. I completely forgot to mention that before. We do really enjoy having the likes and subscribes here on the channel, obviously. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed to the channel yet, you could do me the biggest favor by hitting that subscribe button, the little notification bell, and while you're at it, also the like button. But of course, you can also wait until the end of the video with the like button to see whether today's live stream is beneficial and valuable to you. And if that's the case, then yeah, why not hit that like button and let me know that you enjoyed today's episode. Cool. So what have we got here? In the chat, there is a little bit of action happening there in the chat. Oh, camera angle on the table is upside down. All right, okay. Well, thank you, John. We've realized that now, and I'm hoping, I don't know, was Sebastian able to fix that? No, he wasn't able to fix that. Okay, well, we know who's to blame for that. Sebastian. Okay, but that's okay. Hopefully you can live with that if it's upside down. These are things that we are constantly learning with these live streams, and I hope you'll forgive us for this. Cool. All right. So I think we are gonna go into the next topic unless there is any questions. Sebastian, any questions?
John is asking if you're going to talk about the rig on the table to the left.
I can, definitely, yeah. We're going to be going into a little more detail with different types of cameras for filming underwater, and I can definitely go a little bit into detail, into depth with what we've got here on the table. This is my rig that I'm using for most of my filming that I do underwater. It is an Nauticam housing. I've got a Panasonic GH5S in there. And I use a external monitor, which is the Ninja V, Atomos Ninja V. I use that primarily because I wanted to have a larger monitor for actually monitoring the shots that I take. But I've also started using it as a recorder because it does record ProRes as a codec, which is a much easier codec to work with in most editing softwares, other than DaVinci Resolve, which doesn't take that codec. And it does take a lot of information too, so you get a bit more leeway when it comes to color correcting, color grading, all that sort of stuff. And another thing is that they have actually just released a update on the GH5S and the Atomos Ninja 5 recorder, and now that combination can actually record ProRes RAW video, 12-bit, which is absolutely amazing for a small camera like that, and will hopefully give me the possibility to take even better underwater video, just be able to work more with the material that I collect underwater in terms of color correction, stylize the footage, all that sort of stuff. Should get a lot easier with that better codec and raw video output that I'm getting with it. But we could definitely talk a little bit more about that in a little moment. Right, so any more questions for the moment, Sebastian, before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, John is asking about 1DX Mark. No, he has a Canon 1DX Mark III housing, and he's asking for recommendations for monitors and video lights.
Okay, fantastic. I need to ask or sort of give the question back to you there, John. When you talk about video lights, we'll talk about lights first. What kind of shots are you planning to do? Are you more in the macro world? Are you planning on doing wide angle shots? Is it a combination of both things? That's something important to know before I suggest any video lights. And when we talk about monitors, this is actually a question that I would like to pass on to you, Sebastian, because I know that you have been using the Canon DX.
Mark II.
Thank you, Mark II. Is it Mark II? Mark
Yeah,
II.
it's Mark II. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you've also used a monitor. So why don't you just enlighten us a little bit with your experience of what monitor you've used and how happy you were with it?
Yeah, well, I was using the this Mol HD 502 Bright, I think it was, and I was using it in a Nauticam housing, and it's actually it worked pretty well. It's very bright to see in different lighting conditions. You get some tools for magnification, for to see the white balance and stuff like that, the focus peaking and all that. So it's pretty cool tool. And what I found very useful is, depending on what you work on, you can put out HDMI from your camera, but you could even use the monitor to route out an SDI cable to the surface, for example, for DP to have a look on a different monitor and see what you're doing underwater. So I can definitely recommend the Small HD 502 Bright. I think it's Bright. The correct name is Bright. It's a very nice one. Yeah.
Excellent. There you go, John. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for that insight. It's always much easier to get that information from someone who's actually worked with that specific type of camera, that model, and has also got some experience with using monitors and stuff with it. So as I can see from the comments, you're looking at wide angle shots, you want to shoot large pelagics. Well, in that case, I would probably go for something that has a fair bit of output power. I really like the Kelden lights. I think they're very, very well made underwater video lights. The one thing that really gets me with the Kelden lights every single time when I use them underwater is how easy you can operate them. I mean, with their magnetic rotational switch that you can go in between or through the different brightness modes, it's just so easy, much easier than any push button operation system on other video light manufacturers or models. So just for that one reason, if you've got the budget, I will go for the Kelden lights, probably for the I think it's called 8K, the 18,000 lumen ones. Is it 18? I think it's 18,000 lumen ones. It's like their standard light. I'll probably go for that one. And make sure that if you want to shoot pelagics, wide angle stuff, make sure to get the blue filters that go along with the lights as well, because that way it's just going to make it so much easier for you to get a nice even white balance and not get, you know, the reddish hot spots on the tiger sharks and the blue background, but rather get a really nice and uniform color throughout the entire image. So that would probably be my recommendation there. What I've got on here, these ones are the Scuba Lamp V6K. They're 12,000 lumen lights. I do like them a lot as well. I think they're very powerful for what they are. The operation is, or can be, somehow tedious sometimes with a push button mechanism, and sometimes you don't really know on which power level you are. And they've only got 3 sort of main power levels, and then it's a little fiddly to get to the levels in between. So the operation is not world class, but the quality of the light is really good, and they come with blue filters as well, so you can use them for pelagic stuff without any problems there at all. What I like about them too is that you can quite quickly and easily exchange the battery pack, so you just have a couple of these battery packs with you on a day trip or on a liveaboard, and you can exchange them in between the dives, making sure that that you don't run out of the valuable light in between the dives, or in between dive 1 and dive 2 or dive 3 and so on. So yeah, I think those are the recommendations. Obviously there is smaller lights out there as well, but I don't think I would go for a smaller light, simply because you're just not going to get enough power out of it. Personally, if you're going to go for the pelagics, I'd say look at 10,000 lumen upwards per video light, get 2 of them. And yeah, as I said before, if the budget allows, go for the Kelden ones. You won't regret that purchase. But if you're a little tighter on the money side, on the budget, the scuba lamps, I can recommend them too, if you can live with the sort of not world-class operation that comes with that model of underwater video light. Hopefully that answers your question there. Sebastian, questions?
Yes, we
Yes.
got one from Andy. He wants to know something about courses. I'm not sure if he got the intro at the beginning where we were talking about the courses, but maybe you can mention it again.
Yes, okay. Maybe you can also sort of clarify, Andy, what exactly that you mean by your comment course information. Basically, what I've said at the beginning is that I have been working on 2 online underwater videography courses, one for beginners, one for advanced shooters, and they will be launched by the end of August. And obviously, I'll let you guys all know when that's the case. As a giveaway thank you for reaching 5,000 subscribers on the channel, you have a chance of winning one of these courses by following the steps that are down in the video description below, visiting my website, going on to the section downloads. There is a little register section. You can register there, and I'll draw a winner of that course by the end of July. So fingers crossed, and sign in there. More information on the courses will actually come as the courses will be released, and yes, there will be a launch special with these courses as well. So just watch this space, and as soon as I have more information, I will share it with you happily here on the channel. Cool. Are we good on questions, or can we head into the main section, Sebastian? What do you?
I just want to pick up another question to answer for John. He was asking if he should wait for the smaller G503. To be quite honest, I'm not sure what's the main difference between 502 bright and the 503 bright. Well, yeah, it's if you're talking about a 10K setup and on top the lights, you should wait for, let's say the best. But if you get your hands on a used 502 Bright, or a cheaper one right now, because I think the 503 is out already, I think it will do the job perfectly. Yeah, so you could wait, but as always with underwater gear, it takes some time until Nauticam or whoever is releasing a housing gets the latest gear with the housing. So if you want to go right now, you do nothing wrong with the 502 Bright.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you for that clarification, that input. Sebastian, are we good on continuing?
Yes, we are.
Master of disaster behind the scenes. Okay. Right, so let's get into the main section, the main topic of tonight, and let's talk about how to choose or the right camera for the job at hand or for your specific needs. Now, personally, I think there is three determining or factors when it comes to choosing your camera for underwater. First of all, it's your experience. And by your experience, I don't just mean your experience with cameras, not at all. I actually mean even more your experience as a diver, your scuba diving experience. Oftentimes, I mean, I've been a scuba diving instructor for 6 years, I think, full-time scuba diving instructor, and I've seen a lot of new divers. I've even had divers that came into an open water class with their GoPro, and they wanted to use the GoPro on their very first training dive. And that's just something that, in my opinion, is not a very clever thing to do. I think that in terms or in regards to be a good underwater filmer and filmmaker, you need to master the materia of scuba diving first. So you need to be very proficient in your buoyancy skills. You need to be proficient and you need to have good air consumption. You need to be comfortable in a variety of different underwater situations, scenarios. And if you fulfill all these things, then I think the time has come for you to start picking up a camera and taking photos or starting to film underwater. And I don't mean to say that you shouldn't film underwater or you should wait forever, but I think you should get at least a basic amount of experience as a diver per se before you start filming underwater. Obviously, on top of that, it's also the experience that you have, generally speaking, with cameras. If you are someone who uses cameras on an everyday basis, maybe you even work in the filming industry on land, or if you're someone who just loves cameras, the gear and all the science that's behind it, then it's probably going to be easier for you to pick up a rather complicated camera and get on with it underwater. But on the other hand, if the only camera you possess is the camera on your cell phone, and you haven't really taken any photography or videography courses, you haven't really shot any films or anything, any clips specifically, other than maybe some family clips, then I think you're probably better off starting with a simpler camera, like an action camera or point and shoot, something that doesn't have too many buttons and is not overwhelming and too complicated to start off with. Now, the second determining factor when it comes to choosing a camera, in my opinion, is the project needs. What are you trying to film? What are you trying to capture? The project that you're trying to capture or produce, make, does it require the camera to be able to capture slow motion footage? Does it require the camera to be very good in low light conditions? Does it require the camera to shoot at a specific frame rate, at a specific resolution, at a specific aspect ratio? All these things need to be taken in consideration. You also need to think about where are you going to show your finished product? Are you just taking clips underwater and then not doing anything with these clips and just putting them on your Facebook page and share it with family and friends that way? Maybe send it through WhatsApp or any other of these providers. well, then you don't really need a camera that gives you a very sophisticated codec that will make it easier for you to color correct and grade and work with the footage in post. But if you do want to create films, if you do want to make something more out of the footage that you collect, then I guess it's probably time to look at something or some cameras that will give you those possibilities. Last but not least, we talk about the available budget. That's one also of the important determining factors when it comes to which camera to pick. And this is a difficult one, or maybe it's not a difficult one, because it's probably the one that there's not much discussion about it. You've got a budget that you want to or that you can spend on the new camera that you want to buy, and that's it. Then you basically go and look, what camera can I get for that budget once I've determined or kind of made up my mind on the first 2 points. If money doesn't really matter too much and you can spend not as much as you like, but you have a decent amount of money that you can spend, again, you can go into higher class cameras and housings, and you can get yourself a really nice rig. If on the other hand money is tight and you just want to get yourself into filming underwater, maybe even if you're not too sure whether or not you're gonna like it too much, then you're much better off choosing a lower priced camera, preferably I would say even an action camera like a GoPro, something like that, where if it ends up that you're not liking it, you've only spent a couple $100 for it and not a couple thousand. Also, always keep in mind that the camera per se is not the determining factor when it comes to the budget that you have to calculate or that you have to put aside for that purchase, because the camera is only one component of the entire system. Maybe we can go to the other camera, Sebastian, and we can show it here. The camera that's in here, that's only one part of the entire system. But if you're looking at a larger system like this one here, you will have different ports. You will have different lenses for the camera. You will have lights that you will want to buy for your underwater camera system. You'll need some float, some attachment arms, maybe a monitor, all that, maybe a tripod. All that is stuff that needs to be taken into consideration when we talk about the available budget. And if you say you've got $2,000 available, for example, then the idea is not to buy a $2,000 camera, because then you won't have any money left for the housing, the lights, and so on. So make sure that you do calculate all the additional cost that comes with actually taking a camera underwater. Put that into the equation there as well, and make sure that you're aware of all that cost. Right. Any questions so far when we talk about the determining factors? And this is not set in stone, but I'm just sort of saying what I think is true, because these are my opinions when it comes to the determining factors. Maybe you have different factors that you think are equally or even more important. If that's the case, feel free to share them with us, and I'll be more than happy to discuss them. But yeah, let's have a look at the questions. Sebastian, any questions?
Yes, just give me 1 second.
Sure, you're struggling. I have a really easy time tonight. It's everything's going fine, and Sebastian, I think, is sweating like hell behind the computers.
Oh no, it's okay. I'm
It's
all right.
okay.
You get on the screen now. Skullstan is asking about the GoPro and the minimum stuff he needs to get started.
Okay, cool. Well, probably you can get away without any lights in the first place, I would say. GoPros or any action cameras, typically they're best at wide angle videography. So it's going to be difficult to get some really good macro shots. There's ways you can get macro shots with action cameras, but it normally takes a bit of experience, practice, and is not so easy. Wide angle shots is what action cameras and GoPros as well shine at. So I would focus on that. With a current model GoPro, the minimum setup what I would choose, and we'll go, you don't have to change the camera, but I'll just grab oh, something, excuse me, something from the table here. So this is kind of the minimum setup that I will go with when we talk about a GoPro setup. The GoPro on a nice tray that will give you a lot more stability. Just being able to actually hold your GoPro with two arms it's just going to make it a lot more stable rather than having it, you know, in one hand and trying to somehow get a stable shot that way. I mean, the stabilization in these cameras is really amazing, but still, if we can keep it as steady as possible, it's just going to benefit the footage afterwards. So I would say this as a minimum setup, and before you start investing into lights, personally, if you're just getting started, I would probably rather invest in some good filters for the GoPro, and that depends where you're diving. If you're diving in tropical water, in blue water, there's specific red filters for that. If you're diving in sort of greenish lake water, most of the time you get some greenish water there. You've got some magenta filters for that, and then for the different depth, you get different densities of filters. So I would rather get a set of good filters for your GoPro, then lights at the first place, focus on the wide angle shots, and then once you've mastered those, then I would look at getting some lights and maybe even start looking at taking some macro shots with your GoPro setup. Hopefully that answers your question there.
I just want to hang on to that question because there was another question about GoPro, and from Uncharted Odyssey, he was asking for a budget video. Would you go with a Sea Life 3.0 or the GoPro? Having that said, another one just comment on that one, and he said the Sea Life is made for underwater recording. The GoPro doesn't even compare to the underwater quality, especially white balance, etc. Maybe you can say something about action cameras and cameras made for only underwater stuff.
Good point there, and thank you, Uncharted Odyssey, for making that or bringing that up, that comment. I agree that a GoPro is not made for underwater. GoPro is made as an action camera on land or maybe in the air, but not for underwater. And with the white balancing, personally, I really have to be honest here. I have not got a lot of experience filming with GoPros underwater. As I said earlier on tonight, I've always, or for like the past couple of years, I've used my Osmo Action as my action camera to film underwater. Now I've got the GoPro Hero 9 and I'll get some more experience with it and see how the white balancing actually works, how good it works or how bad it works. But I do think that I think it's correct to say that the Sea Life cameras will do better when it comes to the colors underwater, simply because yes, they're cameras that are made for underwater. Now, most of the time these cameras don't do anything different than what you could do with a GoPro as well, by actually putting a red filter in front of the GoPro, because the Sea Life cameras, as far as I'm aware, they have electronic filters inside, and you can then define whether you're snorkeling, whether you're shallow diving or deep diving, and whether or not you're diving with lights or without lights. And based on that information, the camera will make a calculation and add extra red color into the image. So it's basically it's something similar to what the Paralens camera does, but the Paralens camera does it sort of automatically based on the depth that you're at, and with the Sea Life cameras you have to dial in at what depth you are and what the parameters, you have to dial them in manually, and then the camera makes the calculations for you. I don't think that it's not possible to get equally good footage with a GoPro or an action cam than it is with a Sea Life, but I do think that it is slightly more challenging, and it does take a little bit more experience and patience to get to the same result. Because yes, as was said, the Sea Lives are made for filming underwater, and the GoPros are, technically speaking, not really made as an underwater filming or no, as an underwater filming camera.
And I just saw there is another comment, and I'm not sure how to pronounce him. It's Ian Prater, I guess. And he made a very good point. He said, more importantly, always bring a wide or Craig to set a white balance. Yeah, I think I totally agree on that. It's a very good option. Doesn't matter if it's a Sea Life or it's a GoPro, but it's not often that easy to do white balance with an action camera, an accurate one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. This is something that probably most people or a lot of people struggle with, getting proper white balance. A lot of people can get decent white balance underwater, but it is challenging to get really proper white balance underwater, and that's for a variety of different reasons that would probably just be too overwhelming to discuss them all in this live stream here, because that's not really the topic of tonight. That's probably a topic for itself, for a complete other episode of our live streams, that we can just talk about white balance, the white balance procedures and issues and all that sort of stuff. But yes, it's definitely something that if you can do a manual white balance, it's definitely going to be better than not doing a manual white balance. I agree.
Yeah, so we're good. We can continue.
We can continue. Okay, now let me just sort of quickly figure out where we are, and from there we'll continue. It's actually really nice to have so many comments and questions throughout the live stream in the chat already. Thank you so much for being so active and participating so actively in this live stream. I really enjoy it. I'm having a great time tonight, and I'm hoping that you guys do as well. Right, so we've covered the main determining factors for choosing an underwater camera. Now let's get into what types of cameras are out on the market. We'll put them into different categories, and we'll talk about what the advantages, disadvantages, all that sort of stuff of these different camera categories are, if you want to put it that way.
Just put your laptop away, because the fan is, I think it's...
Oh, it's really loud, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. See, this is why I have you, Sebastian, because I don't see and hear these things, and you're my eyes and my ears behind the monitors. Thank you.
Now you can continue.
Now we can continue. Awesome. Right. So we had the determining factors. We need the... Oh, we've got a wrong title there. Sorry, that was my bad. So that shouldn't be the determining factors. It should actually be the different camera types. Number one is our action cameras, GoPros, Paralens, DJI Osmo Actions, all that sort of stuff. Now, the good thing about action cameras is that these action cameras, or these tiny little cameras, they're very inexpensive. They're very easy to carry with you. So even if you don't want to, carry an extra bag of luggage when you go on a dive vacation, a GoPro or any action camera will easily fit just in a bag or in your backpack, and you can carry it with you. The footage that you get with these cameras is decent. You're probably not gonna win any underwater filmmaking award. Well, sorry, I take that back. You can, if you know what you're doing, but the footage, definitely, the cameras have their limitations. You can get to a certain point with it, but at one point it just doesn't really go any further with these cameras. But they're great for certain types of shots. Like if you want to have a shot of a diver that swims over the reef, and with a action cam you can just place it onto the sand, and you can have a diver just swim over the top of that camera, and you have the silhouetted diver as a video clip, which is great. You couldn't really do that too well with another camera unless you have like a tripod and sort of a more complicated structure to keep it steady while you take that shot, or unless you're laying on your back in the sand and taking the shot that way. But that's probably not the most environmentally friendly way to film underwater. Disadvantages of action cameras: they've got small sensors, and you can't really, well, you can add on stuff to your cameras, but they don't have interchangeable lenses, or most of them don't. Some of the newer models do have interchangeable sort of lenses, but most of them don't. And you've got some certain limitations there when it comes to the quality of the footage that you can get out of these cameras. They're not very good at taking macro shots. They're shy at the wide angle section. That's about it. I would say from the negative side with your action cameras, but certainly a good option if you're thinking about taking up underwater filmmaking, if you want to start filming underwater, if you just want to sort of get a feel for what it is to film underwater. It's never a bad idea to get an action camera. You can always also use it as sort of your backup second camera once you upgrade to a larger, more complicated, more professional rig in the future. So the second camera category that I would like to discuss with you tonight is your point and shoot cameras. Now, point and shoot cameras, I would count the, for example, the Olympus TG6 in there. I would also count the Sony RX100 in there. It's cameras that are more advanced than action cameras. They've typically got a larger sensor, so they're more light sensitive. They've got more functions. You can manually dial in some functions that you would not be able to do with action cameras, but they're still small and compact, and you can use them on full auto. They work quite okay on full auto, and it's literally, as the name says, point and shoot. You just press one button and you start recording or taking the photo, and you don't really have to mess around too much with the manual settings if you don't want. But if you do want to give it a go with your manual settings, you can do that as well, and you can sort of pimp those point and shoot cameras quite a bit by adding external lenses to it, by adding just adding accessories to the camera itself, making it a little more than what it would be normally. And it's easier to add on stuff to these point and shoot cameras than it is to action cameras, in my opinion. And the variety of stuff that you can use as add-ons is just enormous with these point and shoot cameras. So if you do have a certain sort of a desire for a quality of your images, but still don't want to spend too much money or don't want to go on with a huge rig, a point and shoot camera is probably a good idea and a good starting point for you there. The next one, the third category, that is our mirrorless or our DSLR cameras, and that would be something like I've got here on the side. Maybe we can just change to the other camera, Sebastian. That's something like we've got here with my GH5S with the Nauticam housing. So that's your DSLR or mirrorless cameras. Now with these ones, they you can upgrade or you can pimp them even more than what you can do with your point and shoot cameras. Normally these cameras can produce professional quality video. They have codecs that just support better colors, better quality of the image, and also in particular you can work better with them in your post-production software. These cameras will also, some of them will be able nowadays even to shoot up to 8K, which I don't think is necessary yet at this stage, but some of them are able to do that. Others shoot 4K, you have higher frame rates, you just get more options with these cameras. And because they have interchangeable lenses, you can use the same camera body. You can put on a macro lens and a macro port, and you can just get some incredible close-up shots of tiny little critters like shrimp, like little nudibranches, all that sort of stuff. And at the same time, you can use a fisheye or a wide-angle lens, put a dome port on it, and you can shoot some amazing wide angle shots. The disadvantage is that you have to decide before you get into the water most of the time whether you want to shoot macro or wide angle. And oftentimes, and not oftentimes, but I've heard it quite a few times that people have decided to go macro. They've gone in the water for the dive, and what happens? They come across a whale shark, and there's no way they can get a decent shot or a decent clip of a whale shark with a 100mm macro lens on it, unless you're aiming, I don't know, for the eyeball of the whale shark, and that's what you want to film. So it's a little tricky. I personally, with my setup here, what I do, because I don't really like to make that decision before I go for a dive. So what I've got in here is the Lumix, the Leica actually, the Leica 12 to 60mm lens, which is equivalent to full frame, about a 24 to 120, and that gives me enough wide angle that that I can capture a underwater scene, a coral scene underwater, but it also gives me enough. It also gives me enough macro capabilities if I see something small, so that I can get close enough to it and have it sort of not frame filled, or not filling the frame, but still decently large, so that you can see what it is and that it does make sense to be even filming it with that camera. Also, the GH5 actually has a function where it can crop into the image without losing quality. It's like a teleconverter built in, and you can use that as well to get a little more reach out of your lenses. And I do that every now and then, and it works quite okay. So that's my way of getting around having to make that decision before every single dive. I do use a 100mm Canon macro lens from time to time, but I only use it when I know I'm going to be shooting specifically very small critters, and I want to get some really detailed shots of them. That's the only time I use that lens, but I would say probably 80 to 90% of all my dives I've got this setup with the dome port and the 12 to 60mm Leica lens on there. That just gives me the most flexibility. Obviously, drawbacks with this system is that it's not cheap. If you want to put a system together like this, it's going to cost you quite a bit, and it's also that most of the time the specific camera, or the housing that is made for that specific camera, will probably not fit the next generation camera. So unless you are determined to stick with one camera and the housing for, I would say, at least 3, maybe 4 years, then it's, in my opinion, worth making that investment if you want to do that, if you've got the budget. But if you're someone who has to have the newest camera as soon as it comes out, then this is probably not a very wise idea to go with a system like this, because you'll end up buying a lot of gear and spending a lot of money, which, of course, if money doesn't matter, go for it by all means. But if you are budget sensitive and you don't have money to spend without any limitations, that's something that you should consider there as well. Maybe then, if you're a person like that, maybe these type of cameras are not the perfect cameras for you. And last but not least, if we can come back to the different cameras, yes, there we go. Last but not least, we have our cinema cameras. And cinema cameras, here we're talking about RED cameras, we're talking about Arri Alexa cameras, we're talking about Canon and Sony cinema cameras that all have RAW capabilities, and these cameras are normally fairly big, bulky, which is actually a good thing for underwater, because you can move them in a more controlled way rather than the small cameras that do shake a little easier. But obviously, they're bulky, they're big, they're expensive. The workflow with the footage can be somehow tedious and difficult. And it's also one of the reasons why I have not made the call yet on a cinema camera, is simply because I'm worried about the weight and the size of the whole system when I'm traveling. And I still haven't figured out a way that is completely satisfying for me, how I would be able to travel with a cinema system. The closest that I've seen, closest that would fit my needs and my expectations that I've seen, is the red Komodo in a Gates housing. That's a package that is sort of portable and that I would, I think, feel comfortable taking with me on a dive trip or an assignment somewhere. But I don't really see myself taking any other cinema cameras on a trip or an assignment, simply because they're too big, unless, well, it's a big enough assignment, I guess. But for the stuff that I do, I just can't really, I don't really see the reason why I should get a cinema camera and have that extra luggage to carry with me, especially now that my GH5S can also record raw video in 12-bit on the Ninja V from Atomos. Right, so that's it. That's the sort of the camera categories that I was going to talk about, or I wanted to talk about, and wanted to give some inputs and some insights about it. Let me just grab my laptop. Sorry, Sebastian, if there's going to be some more noise, but I just want to see if there's any comment. Or you know what? I'm just going to leave my laptop away, and you can tell me if there's any comments, any questions that we can answer right now.
Oh, well, we got another question from John.
Yes, please.
And he is asking, how do you get your assignments, or how do you apply for assignments?
Yeah, good question. This is something, John, that happens sort of naturally and over time. Now, I can tell you how I get most of my assignments, and it's something to do with word of mouth and being known in the industry, putting out your work and talking about what you do. Now, the way I got into diving, or the way I got into filming underwater and getting assignments, this is probably the way I should say it. The way I started getting assignments is that after I returned back to Switzerland after like 7 or 8 years abroad, I started working for a dive tour operators. We were selling and putting together dive trips for people here in Switzerland, sending them all over the world. And because obviously we needed to be able to talk about these destinations and the operators on location, all of us, we were traveling quite frequently to all these different locations all around the world, and talking to our partners, diving all these dive sites, just getting an idea of what we're actually selling to our clients. And while I was traveling and seeing all these different destinations and dive locations, I always had my camera with me, and I was always filming underwater. And every time after a trip, I put a little video together, and that was solely for my own pleasure and to show family and friends. And it took about maybe a year or two before some of the people that I had known for a little while then started coming to me, and they started asking me whether I would make a video for them, make a promotional video for them, make some social media content for them. And at first they started offering me free stays and free diving and accommodation and food and all that sort of stuff. And eventually, that was a phase that I had to go through, and I think everyone kind of goes through. Some do a little more, others do less. Eventually, I wouldn't accept being paid in diving and accommodation. So I started actually charging them for the services that I provided, and this is how I kind of got into it. And then you know how industries work. If someone's happy with the work that you've done, they'll tell their friends, and it's likely that their friends are in a very similar branch or area or business like themselves, so they might have a need for your services at one point or another, so they'll get in touch with you. And this is sort of how I got most of my assignments. Most of my work was basically through just networking, connecting to people, just doing decent work. And yeah, I guess that's really the way that it has worked for me. And by no means it's not the way that I can live off the underwater filmmaking or the jobs that I do as an underwater cinematographer. For me, it's still it's a passion thing for me. I love doing it. It's the thing that keeps me going. But it's definitely not something that if I stopped every other work that I do, I wouldn't be able to survive just off the underwater filmmaking and the projects that I do, because there's just not enough there to support a lifestyle in Switzerland, I guess. Maybe in other places around the world, but not in Switzerland. It's quite expensive to live here. Yeah, hopefully that helps there a little bit.
Just a follow-up question from to the Giant Squid.
The Giant Squid. Oh, that's a great Dr. Giant Squid. That's a great name. I love it. Was it hard to get your company known? Well, when I first started, I didn't really look at it as me being a company, but much rather as me being me, And whenever I work with people, it's not I don't stand there as a company, but much rather as myself, Matthias. And people, at least that's what I think, or what I like to think, is that people work with me because they enjoy working with me. That's always been very important to me, that the customer satisfaction is as high as it possibly can be, because only if that's the case, they will recommend you to their friends and family, their business partners, and they will rehire you for another job. If and that was kind of the a foundation that I built my business on. And still to this day, I don't really see it as a company. It's more like myself. And to come back to your question, was it hard? I don't know. If you like doing something, or if the thing that you do is something that you love, you probably won't consider it being something hard. But it definitely took time, if that's what you mean. So it was definitely not an overnight success. And if I look at the whole development of that whole story, there was probably 7-8 years or in between, or that time frame, that must have been somewhere around 7-8 years of me actually getting like a first job, and then being noticed more and getting more regular, more frequent jobs, just out of people knowing me. So it takes time, but it's a journey, and I've loved every single part of it, and I would do it again, absolutely.
Oh, we got another follow-up question for the professional side of things. Maybe you can read it.
I'm trying to make the leap from professional photographer to underwater filmmaker. What is the best way to learn the details, video settings, color correction, etc.? Online in-person workshops. It's difficult to give you a very clear answer to that question. Since you're a professional photographer, you're familiar with cameras, I guess. And I don't know how much you have experimented before with video, even on land. Is this something that you've done before? Is it something completely new to you? I personally think that it does make sense, if you're completely new to a topic, to kind of learn for yourself first, I would say. So maybe do an online course, maybe just read up on underwater videography online. There's even books. I don't know how many people still read books nowadays, but there still is books on underwater videography out there that you can buy, and some of them are actually really good, and you can learn some basics about underwater videography in these books. And why I think it's important or beneficial to learn that by yourself at the beginning is because you can do it at your own pace. And if you don't have if you don't have the ambition to make that transition within half a year, you can take some time, you can really get into the details, understanding everything and getting sort of the broad concept of what it means to be filming underwater. And then once you know what you, or once you got clarity on what you know and what you don't know, I think then that's the right moment to go and seek another professional underwater filmmaker and do a one-on-one either workshop or course, and then you can actually ask that person those specific questions that came up during the self-study period beforehand, and you can be a lot more efficient. Because otherwise, if um, if if you come up to a underwater filmmaker and you start an underwater filmmaking course, it's really difficult for that person to know what you already know and what you don't and where to start off. And so it's much easier if you make that first step with online courses, with reading, with just self-tuition. And then once you know where your weaknesses are and what you need to work on, go to a professional and get the help on these specific tasks, or tasks or topics that are difficult for you. And I think that's the most efficient way to learn and to progress very quickly, I would say. I don't know, Sebastian, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, if I just kind of jump in, kind of. I think the best thing you can do is if you know your gear. I know if you're a professional photographer, you know your gear, but I think video is different. And so first of all, I would learn my camera, know every bits and pieces of it, like which lens can perform how, and how can I achieve the best results for different situations. And what I think will help me best is if you're not jumping in the lake or the ocean and just doing some videos, do real projects. I call them passion projects. You want to do with a free diver, or do you want to do, for example, like Matthias about the Tods. Just do something, plan it, and then try to film your vision, and then you see very quickly where are the limitations of your camera, where are your personal limitations, where you learn, and then when it comes to editing and all that stuff, so you learn with your passion project, I think, a lot, because it's a real project, and at the end, yeah, with I don't know, maybe after 10 projects or whatever, you gain so much experience. And then when the kind of customer comes and asking you, hey, I wanted that and that, you can tell them with confidence, this is possible, or for that we need more equipment, less equipment, whatever. So yeah, I think not only just jump in the lake, just do real stuff or real projects to gain experience and know what you're doing and talking about.
Yep, thank you, Sebastian. I agree. Yep, passion projects are a very important part of the whole process, because those are the projects that you're gonna go in full with your entire heart, and you're gonna try to make the best out of them, and that's how you learn. So yeah, good point there. Thank you for the addition. How are we looking?
Oh, looking good as always. No, seriously, we got actually no further questions so far, I think. So maybe I thought it was a good point you showed before when we talked about it, about how do you set up and what are the possibilities to find a way, which kind of bits and pieces you need. Yeah, would be a good point to continue if you like. The website.
I'm a little lost.
The website.
Oh, the website.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty nice tool to see what's happening on the market.
Sure, yeah, sorry, then I have to bring up my computer again. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud this time. But yes, true. Thank you, Sebastian. I was actually going to show you one thing here. Now, this is what I want to show you here is Backscatter's website. Now, there's obviously a lot of different shops that sell underwater gear, underwater videography and photography gear. I do like the Backscatter website. I do like the guys at Backscatter, as I said before. We've started collaborating, we work together. I will be testing stuff for them. They will be sending stuff to me so I can test it and make reviews and stuff. But even before that, I was a big fan of the Backscatter website, or the Backscatter guys and the company, in fact, because I think they're doing a great job in customer support and just setting the best pieces together for you and for your personal needs as an underwater photographer or filmmaker, really. So if you look at the Backscatter website, I think that, let me just go back to the start there. If you go from here up on the top, you can actually choose the different camera categories, the categories that we talked about before. Now, if we go into GoPro, which is basically the action camera category, you can then obviously have the different cameras here. But what I find most interesting with this specific website of Backscatter is that they have put together packages. So I can go on here with the packages, and they will suggest different packages based on what I want to do with my equipment. Now, this is sort of like your very basic package, the GoPro Hero 9. You get a red filter and you get a macro lens with that. So if you don't really want to have anything else, that's your easy solution there. Then obviously you've got your tray and lights. You've got combinations of that. So I think that's a really, really cool way to just basically see what is even possible. Because when I started and I was looking for cameras to film underwater, it was overwhelming what was out there, and I didn't really know which camera would fit which lens and what port do I need and what lights would go with that camera and what filters can I use, and is there wet lenses for it or anything like that. And they also have something for this. Now, obviously, you've got your compacts there, but you've also got your mirrorless. And if you go with your mirrorless, let's see what they have on the packages here. I've got, well, for example, here a GH5S package. And so you get your basics in there. And if you go further down, it will then also tell you maybe you already have a camera, maybe you don't. So you can pick up a camera here as well. You can pick up lenses. They will suggest the best lenses in their opinion, obviously. I'm not saying that they are the best lenses there is, but that's what they're suggesting. So you can pick up lenses there. And there's also accessories and all that sort of stuff for the specific package that you're interested in and you're looking at. So just from that point of view, getting a basic idea on what is out on the market and how can I combine different things, and whether or not this camera works with that wet lens, and this port goes with that screw-on adapter, all that sort of stuff. Web pages like the Backscatter web page can be very, very useful and beneficial to just go and check them out from time to time and see what is out there. Now, all the packages, all the stuff that we talked about in today's live stream, they will also be linked down in the video description of this video once the live stream goes on as a regular video here on the channel. Now, the links that are down in the video description, all of them are affiliate links. Affiliate links are important for us because every time someone buys something through an affiliate link, we get a little kickback from that. And that is one of the main sort of incomes that we get here on the channel to keep the channel running and to be able to put as much time into creating these videos and live streams and so on and create the content for you guys. So if you're thinking about getting anything, we would really appreciate if you use one of our affiliate links. Not going to cost you anything extra at all, but it's going to put a little bit of extra money into our pockets, and we'd appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much for that. Cool. So I think we are pretty much at the end of today's stream, if there's no more questions. Sebastian.
I'm just swiping through the chat if I forgot anything, and the guys are talking about here rephoto and video for workshops. And oh yeah, they're talking about Lebo, which is really an incredible photographer and filmmaker. But I think there are no further questions, I guess.
Awesome. Cool. So then there's only a couple more things that I would like to say. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much, guys, for having been here with us tonight, this evening on this live stream. It's been great. I've just kind of had a look at my watch and I was surprised that we were already an hour and a half into the live stream, and I haven't even realized how quickly the time has passed, which is always a good sign, I'm guessing. Thanks, Sebastian, for being here today again and helping me out with the live stream. I really appreciate that. As always, if you do enjoy, or if you did enjoy today's live stream, please hit that like button, letting me know that that's the case. And also, do tell your friends about it, so that they can come and check out the live streams and the content here on the channel as well, if they don't know about the underwater filmmaking school yet. Now, behind me here in the background, you can see a very nice housing. That's actually Sebastian's housing for his 1DX Mark II. That was his camera that he's been using up until like half a year. The camera broke. He didn't want to get a replacement for that camera because it's already a slightly older camera, and he wants to upgrade his camera to something a little bigger and more cinematic. And I think it's gonna be a red Komodo, but that's just between you and me. In any case, Sebastian is looking at selling that housing. It really is in mint condition. So if you guys know anyone, if you want to pick up a 1DX Mark II housing at a reasonable rate, do let us know. Write it down in the comment section, or contact myself or Sebastian directly. We'll leave our contacts as always down in the video description, so that you can discuss all the details if you're interested or know anyone who might be interested in getting a used housing for that camera. The last thing I want to mention is that we are actually going to have a little summer break with these live streams. There won't be any live stream in July, and there won't be any live underwater video talk in August. We'll be back in September, but there will be another live stream in July. It's going to be a very special live stream that I'll be doing together with my friend and buddy James Blackman from Divers Ready, a channel that most of you will probably know, and if you don't know, you definitely need to go and check out his amazing content and his really funny personality. We'll be doing a live chat, or not a live chat, but a live stream together on July 4th at 6 p.m. Zurich time, so Central European time, which is midday Miami time, or what's the short form for, well, Miami time. I can't remember the short form for it right now. In any case, that's the next live stream that will happen. We will post the link to that live stream sometime next week, so you can set yourself a reminder if that's of any interest to you. I'm not really going to give away the topic that we're going to talk about. It should be a bit of a surprise, and yeah, I'm not really going to say more about what's going to happen during that live stream, but just so you know, it's going to happen 4th of July, 6 o'clock Zurich, noon at Miami time. Right, that's about it. Okay, so thanks again, guys, for your time. Thanks again for being here with us and spending the evening with the Underwater Filmmaking School crew. We do appreciate that a lot. Wish you a fantastic evening. Stay safe, stay healthy. Go diving, film underwater, and I will see you, or we will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.